Hello everyone, we are here again at UK Games Expo 2022 and I'm doing the interview that I'm most excited about. I love this game. For those that you aren't familiar with it, is Blood on the Clock Tower, and who better to speak to us about this amazing game than Dan himself.
Hello.
Of no real bad fame, the master of deception himself.
Oh, God. Don't tell the police that you're calling me that.
So how long has this game been going?
So we started developing it about 5 years ago. We kickstarted it about 3 years ago. It's been through a bunch of iterations and it's now finally been shipped. It's in fulfillment centers. If you're an Aussie, you've already got it, so you know about that. If you're in the UK, it's any day now going out of Spiral Galaxy. And in the US, I think we are almost, I believe it's also landed on the ships in the US. So we're like on the last, if this was a 100-meter sprint, we're like 3 inches from the finish line at this point.
Also, so is it going to retail as well?
So there are retailers who backed it on Kickstarter at a retail tier. We've actually we had 14,000 copies manufactured, and we've sold over 13,000 now. So we've almost actually run out of copies, but we're initiating a second print run, and there are retailers who can like order a bunch on that. So the answer to that is yes.
Excellent.
So obviously, talking myself, I'm very familiar with this game, but I appreciate that some of our followers may not be so familiar with it. So how would you describe this game on Clock Tower?
Okay. Blood on the Clock Tower is a supernatural murder mystery game where a small number of evil players go up against a large number of good players. Crucially, unlike most of the games in the genre, there's no elimination. So when you die, your role's not revealed. You still take part in discussion, still close your eyes at night, you still win or lose with your team. And the dynamic storyteller role, and you'll see we've got some guys stood up over here who are currently running games and storytelling, is more like is about 50% dungeon master, 50% referee. So they get to make some decisions. They get to decide what information they give out, and it makes it so that every game is a little bit different to every other game.
So talk to me then about how a typical run through of the game would go from that.
So each player is given a role. That everyone gets their own uniquely powerful role. It's then a day and night phase game. So if you played Werewolf, if you've played Avalon and stuff like that, you'll be familiar with that. Each night, one of the evil players, the evil team captain, if you like, we call them the demon, will wake up and kill somebody. And each day, the town are allowed to attempt to execute somebody. And if the town kill the demon, then the good team wins. If they don't kill the demon and they run out the clock, the evil team wins. But really, it's a talking game. If you ask anyone who plays it regularly, they will tell you it's a game about talking. It's a game about the good players talking to each other, bringing their information together and trying to figure out who the evil team is. It's a game about the evil team talking to the good players, lying, bluffing, poisoning the well of information, and trying to force their way to the end of the game and win.
So it sounds like it might be a little bit hard for the evil team. There's so few of them in comparison to the good team. So what kind of things has the evil team got on their side?
Well, as you'll know, if you play a game like Werewolf or Mafia, for example, the evil team are also outnumbered in that. But the way balance is made in that is that a chunk of the good players are villagers with no power. They're just pawns to be sacrificed. In Blood on the Clock Tower, everyone's got a uniquely powerful role. But the way we balance that is that there are characters called outsiders who are playing for the good team, and they win with the good team, but their abilities are detrimental to the good team. And so in that way, we ensure everybody gets to do their own unique thing, but it's not unbalancing the game, even though the evil team are a lot smaller in size than the good team.
What would be an example of an outsider? Then, if you say they can be quite damaging to the town.
So I think most people's favorite outsider is one called the Drunk, and the Drunk's ability is that they believe they're a powerful townsfolk. The storyteller, the GM, treats them as though they're that townsfolk for the whole game, but all game they're being given false information, they're being lied to by the storyteller in the night because they're not a townsfolk, they're the Drunk. And so their information is bogus for the whole game.
What about the good team then? What do they have on their side to try and work out who is the demon?
Well, there are, I think, probably about 80 townsfolk, but to give a sort of a smattering of them, I suppose, for example, there's a townsfolk called the Empath, and this game is played with everyone sat in a circle, and the Empath learns how many of their alive neighbors are evil. So if I've got a guy called Jerry here and a guy called Keith here, and Keith is evil and Jerry is good, I'll be woken in the night and told that one of my neighbors is evil. And that's just one small piece of the wider puzzle. There'll be players over here who are learning the roles of other players. There'll be players over here who get to choose people in the night and learn whether or not they're the demon. And if we can, as a good team, all bring this information together and work together, we can pinpoint who the evils are.
Excellent. Sounds like some wonderful world building we've got going there.
Thank you.
As a good team, what's the bad team? They can kill the demon.
Sorry, say that again.
Say that again. Good. I mean, sometimes the bad team accidentally does this. Yeah. The good team, they want to kill the demon, so how do they go about it?
That's right. So each day, if you're still alive, you can nominate somebody. The good team need to collectively nominate the demon, get enough votes to execute them, and kill them. Once the demon is dead, the game immediately ends and the good team wins. So if they can bring their information together, if they can get past all of the lies and poisoning of the evil team and figure out who that demon is and execute them, that's how they win. But of course, that's not going to be easy. The demon's going to be deceiving people. They're going to be killing who they think is the most powerful good players in the night. It's really ultimately a race against the clock. And I think that's one of the big differences between Clock Tower and other social deduction games. Most of those other games are about lives and conserving lives and trying to keep people alive. In Blood on the Clock Tower, because dead players can vote and dead players can still talk, it's not really about conserving the lives of the good players. In fact, it's the opposite. It's about spending those lives, throwing themselves under the bus to get information so that they can get that demon before the game is over.
Excellent.
Yeah, I think that's the frustrating thing. A lot of social deduction games where you die, you're out of the game, you're just sitting there or listening to everyone else. You have no agency at that point.
Yeah.
You're no longer alive, and it gets really frustrating, particularly if you're like a new player.
Yeah, I'm inclined to agree. I mean, we love Werewolf. Obviously, this game is inspired by Werewolf. We started on Werewolf. We played those social deduction games, and they're awesome. But we've always felt that the main ethos, if you're going to play a game, what do you want to do? You want to play the game, right? You don't want to not play the game. Otherwise, you wouldn't have showed up to play the game. So the whole ethos of this game is that you're always playing. You're never not playing. Even if you show up halfway through the game and want to join in, we've got characters called travelers that are extremely powerful characters that can be good or evil, and you just put that player in the game and immediately they're playing. Or if you've got someone who wants to play but's going to need to leave after 20 minutes, you make them a traveler and they can leave when they want to. Everything about this game is designed to ensure that everybody is playing all the time, and we think that that's the most important thing that any game can do.
Yeah, I certainly love the travelers mechanic, coming in and out as you need to. So no one has got any wasted time. It's for the best.
We understand that the travelers, they might be good, or they might be evil. How does that work?
That's right. Yeah. In fact, I'll show you an example here. So let's pull out the gangster. This is probably my favorite traveler, and you'll see that unlike most of the tokens, so for example, this is a good character here. Their token is blue. This is a bad character here. Their token is red. Travelers tokens are both blue and red because they can be good or evil. Yeah. So if you show up halfway through the game, you want to join in, I'll throw you in as a gangster. I'll secretly tell you whether you're good or evil. And then that's it. You're going for the rest of the game. And the gangster is a very powerful character because they can kill their neighbors, which is obscenely powerful. But that's the point of travelers. They come in and they shake things up.
Yeah.
Sounds like there are a lot of characters that probably took a lot of balancing when the game was first in development.
Oh yeah, yeah.
That process from the initial idea of this different way of having a second production game than creating each of the characters.
So we were quite fortunate in that when we kickstarted our game, a rather infamous shut up and sit down preview came out saying that the game was amazing, and so we got loads and loads of pledges on Kickstarter. And what happened then was people went away and they started making their own homebrew copies, and they started playtesting, and they started coming back to it and saying, hey, this thing kind of doesn't work, and hey, these two characters don't play nicely together. And so we, through absolutely no fault of our own, wonderfully had an incredibly large number of very passionate and dedicated playtesters. And honestly, I don't think this game would be the success that it is today if that hadn't have happened.
It's always nice to see the community getting together like that.
Absolutely.
Talk to me about what this and
Yeah.
then what comes in the box.
So, well, we'll kick off with what comes in the box. Everything that you see here comes in the box. So we've got 3 separate sets of characters. We call them scripts. We've got a beginner one and 2 more advanced ones. We've got a core rule book, and we have separate almanacs for each of these sets here. You get 4 boxes full of tokens, 1 for each of the 3 sets, and 1 called Travelers and Fabled, which is where we keep all the extra stuff that we need. And it's all contained within this box here that comes with a stand. And you'll see this is done up like a grip. One of our staff here has put this upside down. It's okay. We'll just look like a tit. You get this upside down book. There we go. And this is actually the thing that the storyteller, the GM, uses. So you can see we've got this set up in an example game here. And what will happen is the players will be sat in a circle. They'll each receive a token, and then you'll come and grab that token and place it inside this box where they are sat in the circle to keep track of them. And we've got reminder tokens. And these are all backed with felt. And you'll see that we can hold this at a 90-degree angle. We can even hold it. I'm not going to tip it upside down because there's a load of tokens here that will fall out. But this does adhere very well. And you can see you've really got to like smack it about before they start to fall.
That's amazing.
So, what happens then in the night phase? What is the storyteller to facilitate the actual gameplay?
So at night, all of the players close their eyes, go to sleep, and then the storyteller, with this box in the hand, will come around and wake each player up individually. And there are a bunch of hand signals that you use. So some players learn numbers, so we've got 0, 1, 2, etc. Got the old yes and no, and of course pointing and stuff like that. If you need to select someone, the storyteller steps aside, you point, and then the storyteller points to make sure you've understood one another. We've also got some cards as well, which aren't here right now for some reason.
I'm sure they must just be in.
Yeah. Hey, Jack, chuck me. Yeah, there you go. Look, he's overheard me. He's got the keen hearing, but he doesn't know which way around the book goes. So is this guy here with you?
Yeah.
Yeah. He's not just jumping in the grave.
You gotta go around detail cam.
So yeah, those are double-sided cards, and essentially they contain short sentences or phrases which cover every eventuality you could possibly need. So, for example, this is the demon when you're telling the minions who the demon is, or you are, so that you can tell people they've changed character, all that kind of stuff. So between basic simple hand signals and a few cards, you can communicate incredibly complex interactions with all of the players.
That's amazing.
Is there any, as a storyteller, I think you start to feel things going madly for one team or the other, and things in the game that's got to help you balance it more the other way than the way it's going?
Yeah, so that's essentially the role of the storyteller. You do get to make some decisions. You're still bound by the rules. You can't just say and do whatever you want. But for example, let's go back to the empath example. I'm the empath. I've got 2 good players next to me. I should see a 0, but one of the evil team has a poisoner, and that poisoner has poisoned me. And so the storyteller now gets to choose what lie they give me. Does the storyteller want to lie and say that one of my neighbors is evil, stitching up one of them, or does the storyteller say that both of my neighbors are evil, potentially stitching up both of them? And those little decisions like that, as a storyteller, just like any GM, if you're playing D&D or if you're playing Call of Cthulhu or any of that stuff, you get to make these little decisions that ensure that the game remains balanced. And your job as storyteller is to try and get that game to the final day, try and have it go down to the wire.
Excellent.
So what we're in that is the basics.
This is the beginner script. You'll see that there's a bunch of good characters. There's 4 minions and 1 demon. And so it's relatively simple because everybody knows that this demon is in play. Everybody knows what the demon can do. It kills each night. It's as simple as that. These characters are quite simple and easy to understand. It's basic interactions like you learn who was executed yesterday, or once per game, point at a player. If they're the demon, they die. So it's simple stuff that beginners can understand. And as we sort of move forward, we end up with more complicated scripts where, for example, there are 4 demons and you've got to figure out which demon is in play. And the characters get more powerful but more complicated information. For example, the savant each day visit the storyteller, learn 2 pieces of information, one of which is true and one of which is false. And you can see that's a lot more complicated than simply point at someone and they might die. So it sort of caters, as you grow and as you get better at the game, you'll sort of grow into these more advanced scripts.
And what does the demon have on their side at the beginning of the game to be able to pretend that there's something else and not out. So it's very good.
So because there are no duplicate characters in Blood on the Clock Tower and everyone has their own uniquely powerful character, we actually wake up the demon on the first night, we tell them who their minions are, and then we show them 3 good rolls that aren't in play. So the evil team are given bluffs to work with, and usually you'll find that the evil team stick to those bluffs. Sometimes they go off script if they're feeling particularly badass, but usually they'll stick to those bluffs, and it means that the evil team, while outnumbered, have a fighting chance. And it's not just the ability to lie and say you're a good character, but if you pretend that you're getting information as that good character, you can actually use that as an avenue to sow the seeds of deceit throughout the game and start poisoning the well of information with lies.
That's amazing.
Obviously, these are like the basic scripts. So you've got through all of those. You've had a good few games of them. What might you be able to do after that?
So if you have tried all of this, you're feeling pretty experienced, you want to start getting a little bit crazy, you can actually go on our website and there is a script building tool which lets you build scripts by combining, mixing and matching whatever characters you want to put in there. And then you can print that off as a PDF, hand it out to your players, and run custom scripts. And we also intend in future to release expansions with more characters. We consider these scripts to be beginner, intermediate, and intermediate. We don't have an expert script yet because the stuff that we're now developing is really, really complicated, and those will be the advanced scripts.
Excellent. Do you have a favourite character to play yourself?
Yeah, my favorite character to be is a minion with no responsibility, I would say. So in my first ever game, I was the Baron, and the Baron simply adds in some extra outsiders before the game's even begun.
Yeah.
So as soon as the game begins, I've no longer got any responsibility. I can just go around lying to people, confusing people, and generally being a nuisance. And that's my favorite thing to do. I really like that. My favorite demon is the Shabaloth, who each night kills 2 people, and the next night one of them can be regurgitated. And I just love that. I think that's a really great illustration of exactly what this game's all about. Player choice followed by storyteller choice. Player wakes up, kills 2 people. Storyteller then decides if one of them is going to be regurgitated. And it's beautiful because you're not taking away player agency, but you're adding in just enough randomness that everybody has a bit of wiggle room to maneuver, to lie. Even good players can lie and try and make plans and see them to fruition.
Yeah, and certainly I know watching your streams on Twitch, regularly lots of the good players also like to lie to keep their roles.
Ah, yes, everybody lies in this game. Everybody. I think that's one of the first hurdles to get over is that in Blood on the Clock Tower, lying is not evil. In fact, telling the truth is kind of shifty in this game. If you're telling the truth, why are you doing that? Are you evil and trying to convince people that you're a good thing? Why would you tell the truth?
Awesome.
If people like the sound of this game, how would they get their hands on a physical copy at this time?
So you can go and buy the game right now on bloodontheclocktower.com. We've currently got somewhere between, I think, 500 and 1,000 copies left. If you go and get it right now, it will be delivered along with all of the other pre-orders and Kickstarter backers. So yeah, get them while they're hot, basically.
Excellent.
Is there any other way to like try it out if you can't get your hands on a physical copy?
So you can head on over to any of the conventions that we're at. We are sort of semi-regular at a fair few, particularly in the UK and North America. We're going to be at Shucks in Vancouver in, I think, September. So if you want to come and try it out there, you can. There's also an online web app that was developed by a fan at clocktower.online. And lastly, probably most importantly, you can check out our YouTube channel, or you can go on twitch.tv/the Pandemonium Institute, where we're regularly showing off the game on both of those.
I don't have that on most of the time during the day. Excellent. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Cheers, guys. It's always a pleasure.
So thanks for our viewers for watching as we find this on YouTube, with Facebook, TikTok, Twitter, Facebook platform, liking, sharing, and we check out Blood on the Clock Tower and blog as much as